It's summertime, baby. Doesn't mean the NFL stops because that's what they want you to do is constantly talk about the NFL, which we here on Star Telegram are going to do just that. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram sports columnist Mac Engel. Accept no substitutes. That good-looking gentleman over there in that horrible, ugly colored shirt, Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Traitor, are you wearing purple even though you're a Longhorn?
I'm an Omega man. Mega sign fly is always purple. You know this. You know this. I'm okay with the Horny Toast. I'm okay with TCU.
Convenient excuse. I like that. That is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr. Before we begin with this week's topics, we have a much more interesting topic to discuss, and that is your oldest daughter. This is a cool story. I don't know where she got her genes from. Sure as hell ain't you. Can you tell the good people what cool thing that she had happen to her at Howard University recently, Clarence?
The cool didn't happen to her and us. It's a family
thing.
That
is true. That is a
family thing.
That is a family thing.
My daughter's had an amazing year, and she was named the NAACP Image Award winner for activism, Youth Activist of the Year, because she led she's a senior at Howard University, and she led the housing protests and to, revamp the housing at Howard last fall. She slept outside for almost 2 months in the cold, the winter, in protest for the housing conditions at Howard and helped enact some change there. And she has been a student leader at Howard. She's president of NAACP and just continuing her duties in that role. She was speaking at a convention or a music festival this past weekend, Juneteenth Music Festival in DC, talking about student debt and the burden of student loan debt with some other students. And she was on a panel. It happened to be a music festival that was put on by the music giant Pharrell of the Happy fame. And he walked in and said, I am taking care of all of your student debt. Everybody's on the panel. We're taking care of all of your student loan debt. And she just was beside herself because, this was not what she had no clue. She was just doing what she does and advocate for other students. And she got blessed. And, and she kind of, to a certain extent, feels guilty a little bit because it was never about her. It was always about advocating for other students. But this was a blessing that was for her and to her and to our family. And certainly we appreciate it. Student loan debt is a huge deal for a lot of students. And because the rising cost of tuition. I was just talking about this with someone else. When I started going to school way back in the olden days, it was $4 a college hour.
$4?
$4 a college hour. Then they got the wise idea that we're going to triple it to $12 a college hour.
we're gonna make some serious money now.
This was Texas in-state tuition, and Texas always had been among the lowest in the the back. This was back in the 80s, but right now the price is just astronomical, and parents and kids are in a lot of loan debt. My son went to Baylor, which is the cost of Baylor is like cost of TCU. It costs a lot of money. It's a lot of student loan debt, and that he's still paying Sally Mae, which he curses out Sally Mae all the time. But my daughter will able to graduate without that on her back, and certainly she wants to go to law school, so she'll probably encourage it more. But yeah, it was a great thing for her, a great thing for all the students who were celebrated and feted by Farrell.
Just quick before we move on to the next subject. Pharrell, I didn't get a chance to ask you this part when we've talked about this. How did you find out?
She called me.
She called you?
She called me. It's funny because I was interviewing a Cowboys coach, and I was, I was trying to tell Channel 4, it's like my kids, and I don't know if your daughter's like this, but they call me all the time, and my daughters call me all the time. And if I don't pick up, she will call me back to back to back. I just know, this has been since the beginning of time. I just don't know how my daughters just innate their jealous girlfriend. They treat me like their jealous girlfriend. They will call me back to back to back to back. So daily she calls me. I'll pick up. She'll call me back. You're sending that little text. I'll call you back. That automated text. I'll call you back. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you're doing. Not what you're doing. And so I was actually doing an interview, and she just kept calling. And I said, the coach, let me take this call. And that's when daddy, and she told me what happened. And so it was.
That's neat. That's cool in a lot of different directions, primarily because you have such a great relationship with your daughters that even as they were advancing teens and now into college, that you guys are tight enough that she still wants to talk, that both of them want to talk to you like that. I don't take that for granted. I cherish, my time with my daughter. We have one. And so that's obviously a lot different than two. And I don't take for granted she tells us things. And, my big thing was, as long as she's telling one of us, right, what's going on, then I'm good with it. And I don't take it for granted that she's open about things. And there's a lot of benefits to it. But certainly I would say she's blowing you up time after time. Like, can you give me just a minute? I'd love to talk to you. I love you. Can you just give me one more minute? We'll chat.
It does not matter. And one thing is, you're getting through this process, and this generation is different than us, because we told our parents nothing.
Yep. Oh, that was me. That's yes.
We told our parents nothing. Okay.
Yep.
They tell everything.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mine tell everything, and mine want to talk about their dates, and
yes.
I don't want.
You don't want to know it. Just give me like the clip.
They want to share everything and all this other stuff. And Dad, she turned 21. She went out for a drink, and these people are buying her drink. I like Dad. Don't hear.
We're good. Just turn it off.
But anyway.
All right. Anyway, so congratulations to you, to her mom, to your whole family on this. That's a great. You're right. She's had a great year. I'm sure as her dad, you've got to be so proud of her that she's done as well as she has. And even if she hadn't, for all hadn't picked up the check on student loan debt, I'm sure you're really proud of her either way. So let's move on to Dallas Cowboys talk a little bit, which is Jerry Jones decided to address the $25 million gorilla lurking over the entire NFL, and that is the availability of Sean Payton. Sean Payton served as a Dallas Cowboys assistant coach under Bill Parcells many moons ago, before he became a legend in New Orleans, where he recently stepped down from after a very successful tenure as the head coach of that franchise. It has been reported that the Miami Dolphins were trying to get Sean Payton to coach the Dolphins, as well as recruit Tom Brady down to South Beach this past offseason. Obviously, that didn't work out. Not sure how much truth to it is, but it's interesting. Tom Brady comes out of retirement. He's going to stay in Tampa for at least another year, which means Sean Payton is still a free agent. He will do the broadcasting this season, but there has been an immediate moment of mass panic speculation that Sean Payton is looking right over Mike McCarthy's shoulder to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. You talked to Jerry about this, and Jerry basically said, not true at all. Mike's my guy. We can win a Super Bowl with Mike. I don't buy it. I think he, as Jerry would say many times, I mean it, and I mean it in the moment, but just because I say it doesn't mean it's so. You've covered Jerry forever. What do you make of his latest defense of his head coach du jour?
I mean, it's Jerry being Jerry, and he, Jerry thinks there was something in the past that stay in the past, and he was actually asked during the World Cup announcement, and he did a little tete-a-tete with the media after that, and he just was offended that someone would be bringing that up at this point. But
oh my God, I can't believe it.
It's never going to go away, Jerry. As someone tweeted to me, why did he act this way after the season? Why he should have defended Mike McCarthy this way at the end of the season when his stuff initially bubbled up. Sean Payton's talk has been going on since Sean Payton, basically retired from the Saints and became a free agent. And, Jerry was kind of leaving Mike McCarthy hanging out to dry. And really
Clarence, hang on. Do you really think he left Mike McCarthy hung out to dry? Or is that people like you and me drawing conclusions that Jerry's getting ready to axe this guy?
I mean, if he would have gave him the defense then as he gave him now, it wouldn't have been a question.
True. Yeah, that's fair.
That's just it. I mean, he had ample opportunity to say, yeah, we're disappointed in the season, but Mike's my guy, and we're moving forward. And I believe in Mike. And it took him 2 weeks. The funny thing about it is Jerry, at least back then, tried to justify that by, not really committing to Mike because of the courtship of Dan Quinn by other teams. I don't know what, the Dan Quinn situation had anything to do with Mike McCarthy as being your head coach, because you wasn't going to move on from Dan Quinn. But,
no way.
but that's the way it is. And I think that the bottom line is this: Mike McCarthy is the coach for now, and we all know that if things don't go right this season, these questions are going to come up. And Sean Payton is who's been the apple of Jerry's eye since he left here, and who has always had a affinity for Dallas. He continues to have a home here from his days on the Bill Parcells staff. That this is, a place that he wouldn't mind coming to. Certainly,
Do you still believe that? I mean, he's got plenty of money. He doesn't need to do it. He won a Super Bowl in New Orleans. He did a great job. He had full unilateral authority over personnel, which is what most coaches want. He knows he's not going to get that here. Now, he'd have a lot of influence. You and I have talked about this before. I think one of the real misconceptions about the head coach of the Cowboys is that it's just Jerry pulling the strings on a puppet. No, that's not true. The head coach, especially a strong-minded head coach that he believes in, has a tremendous amount of authority and impact on the roster. Sean knows all this, all those factors taking into account. Do you think Sean really would want the job?
It's the big room. It's the big room. Bill Parcells said.
Bill said. Bill said
it's the big room. I mean, he's done everything he's done in New Orleans. If he can win in Dallas,
that's what they all think. If I can win in Dallas,
they all think they can, and he thinks he's special. He thinks he's, smarter than the average bear. It's Sean Payton. He's
yeah, I know, but you and I both know it. That level of intellect went from about here to here when Drew Brees' physical ability started to continue to drop.
That team is so competitive. He kept it competitive with all
right. They were okay. They were okay. Jameis Winston got hurt. I don't know if he can play. He probably can't. But this is the guy who believes in Clarence. This is the guy who believes in Taysom Hill.
Hey man,
he can't play.
If you can do something with Taysom Hill, you're a genius. Okay.
What did he do with Taysom Hill? He didn't do anything.
Did you see him kill Texas when he was at BYU? I believe in that guy. Did you see what he did against Texas? He ran all over Texas at BYU.
That's true. That's like 58 years ago. That's when you were paying $4.50 for a journalism class at Texas. All right, let's move on to the next subject. This is one of my favorite times of year covering pro sports, is because we're getting ready for the start of training camp, or just coming out of mini camps, OTAs, and things like that, when about 80 guys will come up and say, oh my God, I can't even believe it. I'm on a new diet. I've got a new strength coach. I've got a new life coach. Things are lining up. I am in the best shape of my life. It is my favorite professional sports lie, because they can lie to you, and they are trying like hell to lie to themselves, because all they're trying to do is get another contract. So, Clarence, which Cowboys are in the best shape of their life?
All we know is Dak, who's had a full offseason first time, and Zeke looks good and running 20 miles an hour and feeling good. And DeMarcus Lawrence is in the best shape of his life. He hasn't had any surgeries. And,
he hadn't been hurt yet.
Everybody, Mike McCarthy's lost a little weight.
Good for him.
A little weight. Everybody looking good. Not me, but everybody else. Actually, I have lost weight. I'm down to 201. I'm trying to get out of the 200-pound club.
Good for you. Good for you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what's your secret?
Not eating.
Yeah, I know. It's the worst, isn't it?
I'm going to mix in some workouts, but not eating.
But not eating.
I mean, it's too high. It's too high. But
everybody's Zeke. So Zeke's in the best shape of his life. You didn't mention Tyron Smith. He's going to be in the best shape of his life.
He was in the best shape of his life last year after that surgery. He's feeling good. Right. And then all of a sudden, the back starts creeping up, and then he, missed 3 games. It's typical Tyron Smith.
Who else? Leighton Vander Esch. He'll be in the best shape.
Leighton Vander Esch, he's not been on the injury report. He's looking good, feeling good. Everything. Everybody looks good and feels good at this time of year.
That's true. Of those guys we mentioned, who's the one player where you're like, son?
I mean,
to me, it's Tyron Smith by a mile.
Oh, I mean, I think, but Tyron's already missed time in camp with a back issue.
Already missed time in the off season.
He's already
missed time in the off season.
Well, I guess the real question is Zeke, and only because of the carries he's already had. So there's only you can be in the best shape, but the wear and tear is still there. The toll has already been taken on your body with the carry. So how long is the best shape going to last when the season starts and the toll continues to take up on your body? 7 weeks.
I remember Rick Gosselin, formerly of the Dallas Morning News, a Pro Football Hall of Fame voting member and a great guy. He had a whole thing. Rick had charts for everything, right, Clarence? And he had a thing about guys over 30 and the slide that they normally took. Not every one of them, but a lot of them after the games reached December. And I think if you look at Zeke and all the things that you mentioned, God, he just carried so much early in his career. I think we are on the worst kinds of denial trip if we think this guy's going to be very good in December. Now he might, he's a pro, but to bet on it, I think would be insane.
Well, and the good news is, and that's the thing about it, is we cover the Cowboys and everybody talks about Zeke. But if you add Tony Pollard to the situation, and the Cowboys are going to, use Tony more, the combination of Zeke and Tony is a good running back situation, one of the best running back situations in the league if they use it as they should.
Could be. Appear to have lost Mr. Hill. That's a bummer. Let's count this. Clarence, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can now.
I'm just saying, but I said Tony Pollard's a free agent. And they if you add Tony to Zeke, they do have one of the best running back situations in the league when you as a tandem. And the question is using them in tandem and not just feeding Zeke. And I think the plan, I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but the plan is to use Tony, in combination with Zeke, use Tony and replace Zeke, but also use Tony to help at receiver and replace some Amari Cooper, and as a slot receiver, he's getting reps at that. But they need to use Tony. Use Zeke.
It'll be interesting to see how he carries. Am I gone? Gosh,
you're back now.
I'm back. Okay. What'll be really fascinating to see is if we see as Tony Pollard has evolved this third down and 8. Is he the guy? Is he the guy standing next to Dak Prescott? Because if it's a third down and 8 in the second half of a tight game, and he's lined up next to Dak in the shotgun, that means they've trusted him in a place that they really hadn't previously.
What if Zeke's next to Dak and Tony's in the slot?
But I think it speaks more like it's totally valid. I think it's more of a question of Tony's evolution as a player and whether they even feel like they need to do it. Well, you're right.
It's about getting your playmakers on the field, getting your best playmakers on the field.
It also spells to the idea of if Zeke is in a situation where he just can't go.
Right.
It's mid-November. He just can't go. And they've got a place with Tony Pollard, like, okay, we can trust him there. If it's 3rd and 8, we can leave him back there. He can stick his nose in the way and be a decent blocker. He's not going to be Zeke, who's a de facto guard back there sometimes, but we can trust him in that situation. And I think would speak highly of his evolution as a player. Okay, let's move on to one more subject. We've got 2 more here on Dallas Cowboys Overtime. This is always kind of fun. This is by far and away, we are by far and away in the most dangerous time for an NFL franchise because nothing is going on. Where Dallas Cowboys and every single NFL player is left to their own devices. They don't have to work out. There's no Top Golf to go to. There's no OTA to attend. They don't have to do anything. And it is a perfect opportunity for them to find trouble. Of all the coaches I've covered, I never saw a coach any more paranoid about this than Bill Parcells. There's nobody in his category. So in these next 4 weeks, between today and the time the Dallas Cowboys arrive in Oxnard for the start of 2022 training camp, Clarence, what can go wrong?
Yeah, what can go wrong? That's the question, and certainly you have to wonder because they are going to work out because they have to work out. They have to be in shape for camp. It's not a vacation, and Dak is going to take the receivers and they're going to go somewhere in Miami, South Beach, and get some workouts in. That's the plan. Michael Parsons is going to work with Marcus Ware and do some things. But, the downtime, it's the downtime. You go back and you hate to say it, but, it was the quarterback from the Steelers, Ohio State quarterback who was working out with his teammates when, he had the issue, in Florida, during the offseason. And
just real quick, he's talking about Dwayne Haskins, who lost his life a few months ago.
We wake up this morning and Baltimore Ravens announced the death of a defensive lineman, a player. We don't know what it is, but they think it could be some type of overdose or whatever else. He passed away last night, and this is that time of year, and hopefully, no one runs afoul of the law, no one gets in trouble. But these are things the coaches worry about, and certainly Mike McCarthy talked to the team before he left about doing all the right things and staying clean and staying out of trouble and watching. But, these are grown men. They're going to party. They should be able to blow off some steam. do a little vacation before the grind of the season. But these are things that you worry about. What could go wrong?
This is kind of fun to do, and I'm sure you've got a million of these in your brain stored someplace. You think about old interviews that you did with significant players and contributors in professional sports. And I remember I was covering the Cowboys with you, and I interviewed Bill Walsh, the late San Francisco 49ers head coach. And at the time, he was the athletic director at Stanford, and I had called him to talk about the Cowboys considering signing Terrell Owens. I don't think Bill had coached Terrell. I think Terrell was new to the 49ers, and right. Bill was already gone. But Bill talked about something that I never knew. It was interesting because it applies to all of sports, which is there's basically about 3 to 5 guys who take up about 90% of your thought process and concern as a coach. And when I look at basically you're worrying about 3 to 5 guys. They're usually high-spirited players. Take that however you want. And Terrell would have fit into that category. And certainly other guys that we can think of too. But when I look at this Cowboys roster, Clarence, and I think, well, I wonder what three to 5 guys are the ones Mike McCarthy and Jerry, they're really sweating. I got to tell you, I can't really think of any.
No, and I do want to piggyback on one thing because Terrell gets a lot of attention for. Terrell is about Terrell, but yep. Terrell was never had issues. He wasn't
a criminal.
Yeah, no, he never had issues of not showing up or anything like that.
He was a drama mama.
His issue was, I want the ball and I want money, but they didn't have to worry about Terrell getting in trouble because he didn't get in trouble. But you look at this Cowboys team, there's not a lot of guys. I mean, you have the little cornerback that's this question that's still hanging over his head with the Dallas Police Department. But
how did I miss that? You're right, boss man fat. No, you're right. That's a big one. No. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. I mean. I barely played, but that's a big one. No, that's a big one, Clarence.
But he's already in trouble, and so he's going to get in trouble again. And they think things are going to be okay. But yeah, this is not a team that's filled with that type of element to a certain extent. And led by Dak and Zeke. You can say what you want about Zeke, but he's pretty much kept his nose clean since early in his career with some things, some trouble things. But the rest of the guys, the Michaels, the Marcus Long, you don't see that sort of thing, and you haven't seen. Those issues with these Cowboys, and as they say, knock on wood. That
stay your head.
Knock on wood.
There you go.
At least for them, that won't happen again. But it could be anything. It could be steroid use or somebody popping a molly in Mexico.
Speeding. No, seriously, it could be a speeding ticket. Yeah, it could be it's anything
or whatever. But it's something you worry about. But again, this is not a Cowboy team. Again, from the character of the guys on there that you really have that much to worry about.
Last subject we're going to talk about, this is always a fun debate topic, is Hall of Fame candidacy. Now, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I know. Thank you. This isn't exactly a Hall of Fame, but it's the Dallas Cowboys version of the Hall of Fame, which is their Ring of Honor, of which Jerry Jones has the keys and is totally in control of. And you brought up a good point. Former Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman Nate Newton, we're a fan of Nate. Anybody who's ever met Nate and spent 2 minutes of him will tell you they're a fan of his, is a logical candidate. He was recently inducted into the Black College Hall of Fame. And I think there's a pretty intriguing debate whether Nate should be included. Clarence, Jerry will do this whenever he wants to do it, whether it's Jimmy Johnson, whether it's Danny White, name your guy. Drew Pearson took Drew forever. You just never know. Do you think he put Nate? I personally, I don't think he's going to do it. Do you think he put Nate in the Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I don't know. Nate has not gotten a lot of claim. I don't think Nate's gotten the claim he should get. And I think there's a lot of guys who still should, like Everson Walls should be in. He's not in.
Yeah.
Jerry said Jimmy was going in. We don't have a Jake for Jimmy yet. And certainly you got Witten coming up. He's going to be in Hall of Fame, and
where Romo
is coming up, he's going to be in Hall of Fame and stuff like that. But just sticking with the Nate thing, and Nate had 6 Pro Bowls, and he was making the Pro Bowl when they weren't just putting people in like they are now. He wasn't over replacement or anything. He was a 2-time All-Pro. And my problem with the Cowboys of the 90s, and everybody celebrates the Cowboys of the 90s, is it's like anything. We love the triplets, and we love what Charles Haley did, and we love Dion on the other side, and we love in the triplets of Michael, Emmett, and Troy, and we love those guys. But we all know, which is why they tried to recreate it in the 2000s, that the foundation for their success was that offensive line.
Eric Williams, Stepnoski, who am I?
Mark Tuinei.
Mark Tuinei.
It was a great
Kevin Gogan. Yeah.
Yes, it was a great wall of Dallas. Okay, and if that was the foundation of the line, somebody should represent the line in the Ring of Honor.
Is he the best one? I mean, I was my understanding Eric Williams is pretty damn good.
Eric Williams was pretty good, but again, the most decorated player on the line was Nate Newton. Eric Williams good, Mark Stepnoski good. They were all first team. Mark Stepnoski left. Eric Williams got hurt. He was not the same player later on as he was earlier. But if you go down the Cowboys annals and you look at Pro Bowls and all pros, Nate Newton is right there with 6 Pro Bowls. More Pro Bowls than Roger Staubach. More Pro Bowls.
Why does this keypad happening to this? It always freezes up on Clarence. I don't think that's a coincidence. Maybe that's God telling us that we.
I'm sorry. Anybody?
Go ahead.
If you, I don't know where I was, but if you look
6
at
Pro, you just told me more Pro Bowls.
If you look at
Staubach,
we're both breaking up, but I guess we must be over our time. But the bottom line is, now you're gone. I'm sure you're going to come back. But the bottom line is this: the '90s team was based. The foundation was that offensive line, and when you look at the guys on that line, should be somebody that represents that line. And Nate is the most decorated person. Individually for one season, he may not have been the best. 6 Pro Bowls, 2 All Pros. Anybody with 6 or more Pro Bowls in Cowboys history is in the Ring of Honor.
I love Nate Newton. I haven't seen him in a long time. I would love to see him again, to tell you the truth. So I kind of buy your argument, especially the argument about, the foundation of that team was that line. Emmitt Smith is not Emmitt Smith without that line. No, and Emmett would probably tell you that. I think he would. But I think Emmett would tell you that. Clarence, we have gone way too long. This has been a lot of fun. For all of your Dallas Cowboys coverage needs, be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Clarence, congratulations to your beautiful daughter on her great achievement and her great year and your family. We'll see you next time.